We've got the perfect guest, an American legend. Deena Kastor is here. On a somewhat of a sad note, her legendary coach, Joe Vigil, passed away this week at the age of 95 years old. He lived a truly legendary life. This guy was a football coach, football player back in the day, and became one of the greatest track coaches in the history of the sport at Adams State. Is where he got established, where he coached 19 national team titles, including a perfect score cross country team, I think in 1992, 87 individual national champions, 425 All Americans, 90% of his kids graduated from college. He developed men and women who went out to do great things in the world. And then coached many post collegians, Pat Porter, Brenda Martinez. But the most credentialed in my book is Deena. She set the American record in the marathon, won the Chicago Marathon, and well, it wasn't really underrated, but one of the most, yeah, it's not appreciated now. She won the bronze medal at the 2004 Olympics in the marathon, and that set off, guys, I'm Deena's generation. All these medals coming in now. It started with Deena in my book. Deena, welcome.
Thank you, Belden. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be on the show again. Unfortunate for the news that we got this week of the passing of Coach Vigil, but 95 years old is a pretty good run at life. And I'm just grateful that so many people in the running community were able to get the gifts that he had to give. So a lot of him will live on through the rest of us.
We were talking beforehand just about aging and dying, and it's gonna happen to us all, but if you can go at 95, and you said you talked to him recently, like, he was in pretty good health until I think maybe the very end, but I think that's the way to do it. But I didn't know Joe, so I was really glad when you reached out and just said, "Yeah, I'd come on and talk about him," because just from afar, he was a legend in the sport. So I guess when you first heard he passed, like, what were your immediate thoughts? Let's start there.
My immediate thoughts were with his family, his wife, Caroline, who was also a great mentor for me, his daughters, Peggy and Patty. But thankful for everything, like, up until 2 weeks prior, having phone conversations with him. I told you 2 weeks before he passed away, I was talking to him and I heard beeping in the background. It was clear to me that he was in a hospital, and he was like, "No, I'm out running errands." Like, just so darn stubborn. Like, you can't admit that you're feeling under the weather. But that was him. And I just feel like how he even entered the sport is so quintessential to who he is as a person, who he was as a person, that going to be hard to start talking about him in the past tense. But he found running because the cross country team didn't have a coach and they wanted to go to the state meet. So he raised money. He was a football coach at the time, and he was like, "These poor kids, like, we got to give them a chance." And so he signed up to take them to the state meet. He raised money for them to get there by himself, and then made sandwiches in the hotel room. They were all crammed into a hotel room, and every single one of the kids placed in the state meet. He just gave people chances time and time again, me included. I called him up saying, "Will you please coach me?" He coached men at the time. And he was like, "Well, Alamosa isn't for everyone, so why don't you just come for a visit?" But I was so inspired by the end of our phone call. I feel like I had been running almost all my life from the age 11 until graduating from the University of Arkansas. And everything he talked about, from methodology and the athlete's lifestyle and oxygen transportation and the importance of living at altitude for the natural EPO effect, I was like, what the heck is this guy talking about? So I knew that I needed to be with him if I wanted to get the best out of myself. And I just feel so fortunate that at the most impressionable time of my life, that I had good mentorship, that he just taught me not just to be physically tough and gritty, but that it all came from the 6 inches above your shoulders, and that in order to get the best out of yourself physically, you had to be 100% on your game mentally. And that started such a great journey for me, and really, really getting figuring out how to get the best out of my physical and my mental fitness. And what a great gift to give me, because he really showed, even though he was had a PhD in physiology, he was such an advocate of the mental side, and he really valued um, using running to build a better person, not just a better athlete.
A friend of mine, Paul Studham, was on that perfect team. He was like at the University of Texas, they were top 10 in the country, Division One, and he transfers to go run for Vigil. And he always talks about the mental stuff. He's like, we would run through the wall for that guy.
Yeah,
Like he shaped us.
unbelievable.
And so there's so much there to sort of unpack. I mean, there's the personal side and the coaching side. On the personal side, even people in Let's Run are just saying like, one, he wrote his book. He would sign a personal message in every book.
Mhm.
Like you don't have to do those things. Or some guy in there was saying, I think recently he's going to McDonald's and having coffee with Joe. He just sort of like ran into him or met him somehow or emailed him. That, oh yeah, let's go to just. I think that's the type of person at least I want to be around. I kind of wish I knew him more.
Yeah, and I think that is quintessential who he was, there was a time where we were in the campus cafe in Alamosa, and I complimented someone's shirt, and he looked over at him and said, "Well, give her your shirt." And he's like, "If someone likes your shirt, you give them the shirt off your back." And I was like, "Oh my god, I don't want your shirt. Like, keep your shirt on." But that's who he was. If you like something, here, you can have it. And he was like that, like just committing to knowledge. Like he would get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and just do research and look at the latest studies, and really just like, I think that's why his mind was in it till the very end. He was just a student of the sport, but he also was the greatest educator. And he would spend his entire life just studying physiology, and you could see him in McDonald's having his coffee, and you would sit down and he'd give you any information that you were willing to ask or listen to. He was just so generous with everything, and really taught me that what good is having knowledge or money or food or um just anything for that matter. Like the acquisition of what we have means nothing if we're not sharing it with people, so that we become more valuable to society when we can share what we know. And I think he lived that every single day and lived with absolutely no regrets. He really lived his daily life to the fullest. And I would bet 2 weeks ago, if you asked him if he had any regrets or anything else he wanted to do in his life, the answer would be no.
That's how I want to live.
Right, right.
I don't live like way most all the time, but it's a model to look up to for sure.
Absolutely.
Rewinding to sort of the coaching side of things, yeah, how did you find him? He coached the men at Adams State, like, and people now think of, oh, Deena Kastor, the legend. You were what, All American at Arkansas, but you never won NCAAs. What was your best finish at NCAA? Sort of talk about that transition because most collegiate runners, Deena, who are All Americans, they're not going on to the Olympics. They're not going on to winning medals. There's a ton of All Americans, and there's one Deena Kastor.
Yeah, I mean, I would say I had an awful college career. I mean, I was given a full ride to the University of Arkansas, and I just felt like my job was to help my team bring home a national championship. I was runner up twice, once in cross country, once indoors, but never really ran to my potential. And it's because I really did not understand that running was a 24/7 sport. I just thought the time in your running shoes, you maximize it, and then you could live any way you want. And it, I really was done with it at the end of college. I was fried and frustrated and was completely doubting my ability to give any more to the sport. But Mylan Donley, the assistant coach there, just said one question to me: "Are you sure you're done?" Maybe two questions. "Are you sure you're done? Are you sure you've given it all you have?" And my answer was a snarky, "Of course I have," right away. But then I got back to my apartment and I was like, have I? Like, do I even know what giving it my all is? Do I even know the meaning of his question? And he gave me Coach Vigil's number just to talk about training and what my options might be post collegiately. But I had really given up on myself. I was going to open a bakery because that was giving me a lot of positive feedback at the time. Everybody wanted my pastries. And so I was selling them at coffee houses around and restaurants. And it wasn't until talking to Coach Vigil that I just realized I don't know a lot about this sport, and this is the man that's going to teach it to me. At the time, Track and Field News was showing that the Kenyans were running really well and they were training at altitude and training in groups. And so that's what I set out to do with Coach Vigil, train with a group of men. They taught me more than just about running. I'd learned how to snot rocket and spit mid run, pee in the bushes, all those good things that teammates teach you. But it was really immediately a lesson in just giving, and I can't believe that in such a short amount of time I was able to improve because I was not only focused on giving my best those 2 hours in my running shoes, but I would eat right away and take an afternoon nap, and I started to journal and believe in myself and encourage myself. I was a cheerleader instead of this doubtful, dreary college student that never really knew how to have my own back, and he taught me how to be my best advocate in this sport and in life. And so just so many lessons coming from the way that he lived. He talked endlessly about the athlete's lifestyle, but then you could see just in the way he spoke, like, you fit into two categories of an athlete. You were either a candy ass or you were so damn tough, and you wanted to be the one that was acknowledged as at being so damn tough and not the candy ass. If you weren't getting up and raring to go, and tackle the world before the sun came up, then you were a sack rat. It was like he just, like, made you wanna be a better person and made you wanna be better at everything you did, and I tried to live up to those expectations every day. But what I saw is that by living the way that he was encouraging, I was finding success coming so much easier, and it was intoxicating. It was like this, like not wanting to leave any stone unturned. Like, once I got better at nutrition and sleeping, then I wanted to get better at weightlifting. And once I got better at weightlifting, I wanted to get better at visualization. And once I got better at visualization, it was just like, what more could I incorporate into this lifestyle to make me stronger? And I'm so glad that the morals and values right away were, you can do anything that you set your mind to. It's just going to take a while to get there. It's not immediate gratification. We are not in the sport of immediate gratification. You are going to have to climb up this ladder and scratch and claw your way up. But once you get there, I think President Barack Obama said, there is nothing more satisfying to the spirit and more defining of your character than giving your all to a difficult task. And although he said that years later, after I started working with Coach Vigil, it just seemed like a very Vigil-esque philosophy to have, and that is rewarding. And when you get to know that that hard work does eventually pay off, then you realize that in life it's also that way, right? That as you're raising a teenage daughter, it's not always going to be easy, but let's work at the best strategies on encouraging her. She just got finished with surf lessons outside, and I could see her a little bit of frustration every now and then, but a deep breath later, and she was back to standing on the surfboard. So just trying to encourage those same philosophies in my daughter as I'm raising her, that Coach Vigil was able to instill in me, has already seen generational um, leaps and bounds. So hopefully his lessons will keep going as the generations go on.
When I reached out to you, I also mentioned Ruth Chepngetich, and we can get to her in a minute, but you said, I was reflecting on Coach Vigil's lessons of pursuing excellence and not wins or money. And so for him, it was more about the process, right? It sounds like just be the best you can, and you don't know where that's going to take you.
Yeah, for him, he wasn't just trying to create the best athletes, he was trying to create the best people, and he made that known from the very beginning. Like, what you are doing in this sport is building who you are as a person. So we're not going to cheat or we're not going to lie. Like, when I was trying to get into some of the bigger meets over in Europe, I was like, but everyone's lying about their times. Everyone's like saying that they ran faster. And he's like, well, you're not going to do that. You're going to post what your time is and you're going to get into the races you deserve to be in. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, okay. So he was like just trying to create like a moral stronghold and values, knowing that, if you cheat now, like you're gonna cheat at anything if you want that immediate gratification. So I just really valued, again, overemphasizing I was impressionable when I got to him. Thank goodness it was the right coach, right? Thank goodness I was in the right hands. Who would have known if somebody else swept in, if I would have listened to how they told me it took to get to the top. Everyone's doing it, you might as well. This is just an equal playing field if you take this and try that. And so I'm just really, really grateful that he instilled in me the right morals and values immediately upon getting under his wing in coaching. So feel so grateful. Every time there is a positive test, I just feel so grateful for his leadership, in my life.
Back to the Arkansas coach putting you in touch with him. Did you talk to other coaches or was there some connection between the Arkansas coach and him? I'm just sort of curious, like was there a lot of demand for Deena Kastor from the shoe company? Like,
No, it was not.
I think the setup for running was very different in America then, like the groups weren't established. You guys established Running USA. So kind of when you joined right away, did you have a sponsorship? Was the Running USA group even in existence, or was that a few years later? Like, kind of talk through that a little bit.
Yeah, so when I went, when Mylan Donnelly gave me Coach Vigil's address or phone number, his wife Julie had trained in Alamosa under Coach Vigil for a little bit. She was an 800-meter runner, and and they really cherished their time with Coach Vigil. And I saw, in hindsight, I see a lot of Coach Vigil in Mylan, one of those coaches that he touched. I also like Terry Crawford at USA Track and Field. You could tell that him and Coach Vigil are really close because she has so many of the similar values, morals and values that he had. But it was because Julie trained with him and that Mylan gave me his number. And it was just to have a conversation. Like, he was a post collegiate coach after retiring at Adams State, coaching a small group of men there. And it was one of the only groups in the United States, but wasn't like an entirely successful group. It was just a bunch of men training together because that's what Coach Vigil believed in. It wasn't until 4 years later in 2000 that Running USA charged Coach Vigil and Bob Larson with creating a group. And it was because at the Sydney Olympics, there was only one male and one female marathoner represented. And we brought home in the distance events no medals whatsoever. And so they were supposed to just create a group that they believed could work together to get a medal in the next Olympics. And so it was a 4-year cycle from 2000 to 2004. We had Jen Rhines and Amy Rudolph and Elva Dreyer. They were all on US cross country teams with me. On the men's side, we had Meb Keflezighi and Abdi Abdirahman and Nick Rogers, a bunch of men, Matt Downen from the University of Wisconsin, a bunch of men working together, and it was more like a training camp, a spring and a fall training camp of working together. Well, we all set personal best. We all started climbing in the sport, and being the best versions of ourselves because we were pushing each other. And Coach Vigil believed in that too. You get together and you work hard. You don't just wait for a good day to get in the workout. You prove to yourself that you can get the workout in even when you're having an off day or the odds are against you. And so we did that, just showing up every day, working hard together. And he would say the cream rises to the top, which might be cliche, but we all just elevated each other and we're making world teams together. And then a lot of us making the Olympic team in 2004. And fortunately, Meb and I, running the marathon, were able to bring home a medal for the United States.
Mab went on to win, Boston and New York, but I said this beforehand. You were first. Mab won a medal a week later, but from my mindset of really following sport really in high school in the '90s till then, I mean, your time frame is much shorter, but so it's like, 14 years, there's no medals. And I'm like, "Whoa, my gosh, she got a medal, like, that's crazy." And then Meb gets one, and then other people start thinking, "Hey, this is possible." So heading into that race, what did Coach Vigil tell you? What was your mindset? What did he say to you afterwards?
Meb and I both knew we were in a position to get a medal. We both believed that our training was so, I would say, flawless. We had some hiccups along the way, but nothing like a bag of ice wouldn't take care of and be back ready the next day. But we really didn't just focus on our training. And it was the first time, I would say, I mean, Meb's always been into a lot of other modalities like drills and stretching. He dedicates a lot of his day to doing that. But we were heat training. We were wearing excessive clothing to get ready for the heat and humidity. We moved one of our workouts every week. We moved up to Lake Mary, which was 2,000 feet higher than any workouts we were doing prior. So we were doing workouts, 2-mile repeats at 9,000 feet altitude, which was a burn neither one of us had ever experienced. We got our nutrition down. We were on a few occasions early on, we were weighing ourselves before and at the end of a long run to make sure we weren't losing too much fluid. And when we were adjusting, trying to not just drink more fluid, but also condense our drink. So we kept adding like a little bit more Cytomax powder to the water to get in more calories. Like all these little things that we were doing was just like tiny percentages to get ready for that game of trying to beat the best in the world on that day. So when the day came, we just felt entirely ready to be our best, and we knew that our best would land us on the podium if we could play our cards right on that day.
You remember what Coach Vigil said to you afterwards?
Oh, I don't remember. I just think the most profound thing to me was the night we were leaving the island of Crete. The US track and field team had our training camp. We were there for the month training on the island, and we got in a beautiful routine of getting in our morning training and our evening training, and then we would go play in the ocean until dinner was served at 8 o'clock. And we just had this great routine that all of the distance runners were in. And I remember sitting on the deck with Coach Vigil and Caroline, and we were just finishing up dinner, and the waves were lapping under the deck that we were sitting on, and knowing that we were leaving the next day, just getting ready to pack up our stuff. And I just said, this has been such a great training stint that it doesn't matter if I get first or last. This coming weekend, I am an elevated person because of this. Just doing it all right, and knowing that I was the best athlete that I had been up into that moment. That I just felt proud of the journey that we were on together. So it was almost like it's cliche that it's the journey and not the destination, but that is exactly how I felt in that moment. That the race almost was inconsequential to what we built together in that summer, and I felt pretty proud of that, which was a great way to go into an Olympic experience.
I was thinking, oh, Vigil was old school, so then he was going to say, like, no, you must win. But you already said, no, he said it's about excellence. It's not about winning or money. I think also with this, it's a better mindset to have. That's all you can control, right? You can't control what somebody else does. All you can do is do your best.
Yeah, and really, like, the pride at the end of the day for just trying to excel, trying to be the best version of yourself, whatever life throws at you. It could be tactics and race strategies that are out of your control on a race course, or it could just be life hitting the fan in the everyday world. If you can be your best self in that moment, then you have a lot to be proud of, regardless of the results. So I just feel so grateful that he instilled that pursuit in me. Just pursuing excellence was so much more important than pursuing any prize.
Did you guys ever butt heads? Like, how, like, it can't all be good, right? Or like, I'm just picturing this guy, born in what, 1995, 30 something?
Quick math, 95 years ago,
1930? Wait, 29 maybe or something?
maybe
I
29.
think I saw it somewhere.
I think
1929. And you guys are, different generations for sure. But like when they're, the coach and the athlete don't always agree. So how would you guys settle disputes or it was easy to get along with him? Just kinda curious about that side of things.
Yeah, I think the only time I disagreed with him was when I saw my schedule, in 2004. I was in marathon training, but I was also gonna run the 10,000 at the Olympic trials, and it was like a week I was all marathon training, and a week before the Olympic trials, he wanted me doing 20 times 400, and I was like, "Why would I just insert 400s like a week before the Olympic trials?" And he's like, "Well, you got to get your turnover in." I'm like, "Well, we should have been doing that like last month, like get my turnover in last month." So that was the only time where I was like, "I don't know about this. Like, this seems risky. Like, it's like an injury waiting to happen." I did get a gnarly blister on my foot um, at the Olympic trials itself because I probably needed more than just one workout of 20 times 400 to get used to running in that oval. But that was the only time I remember thinking, is he off his rocker? Like, this does not make any sense to be doing this 1 week before the race.
I think I might agree with you.
Yeah.
But, coaches aren't infallible, and, they come stuff changes slowly over time, like, people didn't do double thresholds then, like, I think we're constantly learning, constantly evolving. I mean, you said he was still learning here at age 90, and, you said he was as curious as ever when you were talking to him,
Right.
and I think that's really cool that you still had a relationship with him. I mean, right? You haven't been racing for what, 15 years really at the top, and you stayed in touch with him, like, he was like a life mentor, it sounds like.
Yeah, even annual trips, annual road trips to go visit him and Caroline in Green Valley, just outside of Tucson. So I'm fortunate that Piper also gained some of his wisdom over the past few years and having nice conversations with him. Um, and a lot of it is like, you just need to get tough, Piper. He's just like he could be so like tough love, but then also just the most compassionate person in the world. When there's an underdog, he's like, "I'll take you in. I'll feed you some good morals and values and make a man or a woman out of you." Just a generous guy time and time again. And I feel fortunate that I was one of the benefactors of his generosity and taking me in as an athlete when he had no reason to believe in me and what I was aspiring to do. But he was willing to take the time to give me in training, and I feel so lucky. Not only that, him and his wife fed me almost every day. Like I would show up like a sad puppy at their house right about noon, 1 o'clock, because that was like their biggest meal of the day. And I'd always have a nice warm bowl of pozole on a cold morning in Colorado, and a lot of wisdom. I will say one of the hardest things was more than 20 years ago when he was listening to Andrea Bocelli, and I put it on my little tribute to him on Instagram. We were listening to Andrea Bocelli's opera at their house while we were having lunch. They like fanfare. They taught me that as well, like theme and fanfare and everything you do. Like you don't want lunch to be mundane ever. And so he was listening to Andrea Bocelli and Conte Partiro, which is Time to Say Goodbye. Um, he said, "Ladies, when I die and my casket's being lowered into the earth, this is the song I want you to play for me." And his wife and I just started crying, like, why would you think of that in this like beautiful moment to be thinking about the song you want played when your casket's being lowered into the ground? And so when I was making that tribute to him, that's the song that I chose to go with it, because that's what he would want to be played.
Now you're gonna make me cry because I haven't seen it, but when I see this, I think I'm gonna wanna
Yeah.
cry, but just, even that story right there. Yeah, I can go make a sandwich for myself and just sort of sit there and have lunch, or I can have some grand experience by putting on Italian opera music, like, why not? Yeah, you can exist or you can thrive, and
Gotta cut your apple to make it like a rose on the side of the plate, so you're garnishing your plate real pretty, and you have your opera music on. Like, you've gotta add some flair to every meal. And even house cleaning, they had music, and they had this beautiful Bose surround system, so they would, like, just play music to celebrate any occasion. Just they knew how to make life really special. All the little things we might take for granted, doing laundry or tidying up, and they made it into like this beautiful ceremonial thing. him and Caroline built a beautiful life in doing that in everyday events.
Not that my wife and I ever have conflict, but if we were to, it centers around cleanliness in the house. And I've got a plan. I'm gonna start blasting this music, and she'll be like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Oh, I love this. I'm embracing it." Not gonna know it hit her.
I'm that see? Even as he's passed, his lessons are being passed on.
And I feel like, well, I got 2 young daughters, but I feel like he would be really good for teenage girls. Like, I think Joe Vigil would be just put some sense in them. It's not that complicated. Just
Yeah.
be a good person, you know?
Yes.
So do you have a favorite memory, or if you've already told them, like, these are great stories?
Oh, I mean, one memory, I that's just coming to mind. I mean, I feel like any time of day we're talking about them, something else might pop up. But it was my first or my second national championships in cross country as a professional athlete. And it was in Portland, Oregon, and it was just pissing rain. And I remember huddling, going on a little warm up and then coming back to the car, and he had the heater on. And I sat in the back of the car and I said, so what should I wear? Do you think I should wear a long sleeve under my singlet or a waterproof jacket over and put my bib on top of my jacket? And he was like, you mean for the race? And I said, yeah. He goes, well, your uniform. And I was like, yeah, but it's cold out there. And he's like, oh, well, then put on gloves if so your hands don't get cold. And I was like, oh, okay. So I had gloves on and a beanie cap, but just my singlet and shorts. And it was cold out there. But he was just like, cold is a state of mind. Like, if you lose your heat out of your head and your hands, so you can wear a hat and gloves, but other than that, you're gonna wear your designated uniform because that's what you were provided with. And I was like, all right, that's what I'm doing. So he also gave me this mindset of not overthinking those things, right? That you just, you don't have to obsess about. I mean, you could choose your clothing, but you don't need to obsess about it. And it was just really matter of factual in those things. Like the hard work is in. If you put in the hard work, it doesn't matter the weather. Weather's weather, and you're just going to get out there and you're going to show your fitness. That's what you're here to do. You're not here to pick an outfit out. You're here to show your fitness. And I just thought that was such a great lesson from him. One of the many that stands out, and you could apply that to other things in life too, where you're overthinking menus or party details or what a vacation like I'm on right now. You can overthink a vacation, but really just sit me in the sand and I'll run up from the beach to talk to Weldon, but that's about it.
We appreciate it. I know you guys were surfing today.
We were surfing.
Yeah, like, I think we complicate it too much, right?
Yeah,
The basics are there, like, stick to those. And when I think of Joe Vigil, I do think of cross country toughness, and I forgot to mention, that's like there were 2 medals before the Olympics, 2-time silver medalist at world cross country. That's very impressive, Dina. I
yeah.
didn't mention those, but and that shows toughness to me. Y On the marathon across country, there's no faking it. I mean,
There is nothing like the grit and just like getting down and dirty that cross country instills in you. It's still my favorite sport of any sport in the world, especially because you could see young kids developing that endurance and tenacity at a young age. It builds it at a young age, and it's also that sense of teamwork, right? That you're not just out there being gnarly for yourself. You're really having to dig a little bit deeper for your team to get that every ounce of energy out of you and across that finish line, all for your teammates. I think it's a beautiful lesson in life that you can work hard for yourself, but you can work even harder for other people.
people who didn't run cross country, they don't understand it really is a team sport.
Yeah.
They don't understand. They're like, "What? No." And I'm like, "Track really isn't. Track's sort of kinda doing your own thing. There could be a team component, but."
The mentality of relays is kind of similar, right? Like, people
Yeah.
usually get their fastest splits in relays because they've gotta give for the team, so you can kind of get, like, a sense of that on the track, but not in the way that cross country, the obstacles and the terrain, and the competition bring out of you in cross country. It's next level.
Yeah, it really is. Well, Joe will definitely be missed. I mean, thank you for sharing these stories. It's I didn't I just knew he was a legend, but I didn't know the personal aspect to it, and I'm glad you gave just some perspective on who he was as a person and his wife and kids. So our thoughts and prayers with them. Can- Now we need to turn to a more depressing subject.
Yeah. More depressing than a legendary coach dying.
We're celebrating his life. We're not mourning his death. We're doing both, right? But when you go after 95 years, I think it's more of a celebration.
I agree wholeheartedly. What a well-lived 95 years.
But the other news that came out this week, Ruth Chepngetich, the who ran 209. Well, I've already forgotten her exact time because I don't want it to be ratified as a world record. I think it was 209.57.
Oh, I was gonna say 56. Yeah, maybe 57.
You're probably right.
I don't know.
Yep, 56. You're right,
Oh,
Tina.
really? I'm never right when it comes to numbers. That really I'm gonna pat myself on the back for that one.
She'd run this unbelievable marathon time in Chicago. You were there on the bike next to her. You'd seen it. We had you on the podcast immediately afterwards, and I was looking back at some of the things that we said, and well, now we're gonna have a different perspective.
Mhm.
But some of the stuff, because look, we were both saying before this podcast started, I don't want any one performance. You can't just say that means automatically doping. That's not fair to anyone. I'm known for pacing Paula Radcliffe to her world record. I was like adamant she was clean. I don't know. I hope she is. Like the older I get, all these people start testing positive, but it's like I always give her the benefit of the doubt. She's one of the most amazing athletes I've ever seen. So, but some people are like, oh, it's just too fast. You have to be dirty. I'm like, that's not fair to anyone.
Yeah.
But it's, in hindsight, some of the stuff was crazy. You pointed this out. She went out in 104.16, came back in 105.41. The 104.16 is the fastest half marathon ever run on American soil.
Yeah.
As you said, she was on 206 pace at some point.
Yeah.
It's just crazy. And now it looks like it was too good to be true. So the floor is yours.
And, I think one of the first things that comes to mind when I heard the news, I immediately felt sorry for Carrie Pinkowski, the race director, um, and Tracy Wilson, the elite athlete coordinator. Like, these people just give so much to the sport. They have their sponsors. They work 365 days out of the years to have sponsors and to bring in athletes and pay them to be there. And that person's fraudulent. It makes them look bad to their sponsors. Like, their sponsors are like, "Well, we gave you this money for what? Like, we don't want these headlines." So it makes me feel sorry for them, but then I also question how sad, because I've already said how lucky I am to have fallen into, as at an impressionable age, fallen into the hands of a great mentor. I don't, it's obviously her decision. It was her decision to take, I think it was the diuretic that she tested positive for. So it was like a masking agent. It was a lot of masking agent in her system. But at what point did she decide that she was not good enough and she could not reach her goals and she had to cheat to do it? Like, that just sickens me to think that there was a moment that she was a runner following her dreams and goals. And then she thought, I need to do something different because I can't do it alone. And that to me is so sad that someone didn't have belief in themselves. Maybe someone else didn't have belief in her and encouraged it. I don't know. But that moment to me, I would love to know what that moment was that made her not believe in herself anymore because she was already a great athlete. Or has she always been doping? I guess would be the next question. But it's just sad that there was a moment in time where she didn't believe in herself and decided to cheat.
Yeah, it is sad. And that's the thing. Well, when did it start? We never get the full picture,
Yeah,
which is one thing that really frustrates me. I wish people could be encouraged to paint the full picture, but
yeah.
I can see why they don't want to say what's going on.
Yeah, but when they say it was like their toothpaste or they were on the pill and drank a glass of wine, like, can you just say, like, how encouraging would that be for someone to say, "You know what? I have been training for 5 years and I gave it all that I could. And I didn't want my running stint, I didn't want my career to be over. And I decided to do it. And I asked this person where I could get it, and they gave it to me. And I feel so much remorse. I can't believe that I did, like, just tell us that. But it's always just some dumb story about a massage therapist having a bad cream, or, or just making a stupid decision. It was a burrito, whatever it is. Like, these are really awful excuses for bad decisions that you made. Why can't you just tell the truth to humanize it? Like, show us a human behind there.
Yeah, 100%. And although careful, some people, let's run, still support the burrito theory.
And they don't eat burritos. Do they not eat burritos anymore? I think that's the problem. I think, tell me it
Yeah,
was a
good point.
salad. Tell me it was a salad and I'll stop eating salad, but I am never gonna stop eating burritos. I'm a
And I see how, well, also, like, she can still say her story, assert her innocence, but right now I'm assuming she's dirty. I'm not giving her the benefit of the doubt because she's had this first positive test. She took the sanction. If she wants to if she comes out with some story, I may change my mind. But with this time and now, I'm like, okay, this was a dirty performance. I'm just starting from there. But even having said that, I'm like, wait, why don't they ever spill the beans?
Nobody
One, like,
does.
it's sort of a criminal enterprise, right? You don't want to. There might be some safety concerns, but two, also think about it from a human perspective. Like, you were doing a secret thing, and these people were sort of helping you in this. And as a human being, you don't want to, like, oh, they were helping you. You don't want to hurt them now. I kind of see how, like, in their messed up way, they're being a good person by not ratting them out. Like, nobody wants to sort of
Yeah.
be the rat, but the sport doesn't benefit. Nobody benefits. And then, I mean, you showed you can do it clean. I'm assuming you were clean, Dina. Some people would say, "Oh, Dina couldn't do it." I mean, it's crazy, right? But, like, I was a hack. I know what I did in the sport clean. So it's like it just ruins it for everybody.
And we shouldn't expect a cheater to be truthful also. So I think maybe we're expecting too much. If you're a cheater, you're probably also a liar. I mean, that goes hand in hand. So, like, that's what I think that's where it comes down to character. Like, when, for any young runners out there listening, if you have wild dreams in this sport, you could absolutely do it. It's gonna take time, and it's gonna take commitment, and it's gonna take a narrow focus, and really just, like, constant decision making to fulfill and support those dreams, but you can do it, and don't let anyone else tell you differently.
Yeah, I think Emily Sisson had a post essentially saying the same thing.
Good.
And it's just like, yes, people need to hear that because it's very easy for people not near the top to be jaded, like, oh, everybody's dirty. And they're not.
They're not.
And
And the decisions you make in sport are building your character, are building who you are. So if you are gonna build yourself this consistent, hardworking, gritty, gutsy, morally strong athlete, or you're going to build yourself a cheater and a liar. Like, make that decision. Make it about your character, not just about winning a race. Make it about who you are becoming by making all these decisions in sport, and that should help you choose a little bit better.
yeah, I think, with Coach Vigil's passing, and when you're on your deathbed, you can be like, oh, I'm really glad I cheated at that race to steal this thing I didn't deserve. I don't think people answered. I don't think the answer is yes.
Right.
Especially in our sport where people cycling, maybe everybody's dirty, and well, I don't know. I act like they all were dirty, and then it's a different. But then at least be honest about it. I don't know. It's just at the end of the day, you have your own conscience, your own beliefs, and you got to answer to those. But how do we? I think the drug testing is way better than when you and I were in the sport.
Definitely.
So how do you think we keep the ball rolling or keep it clean or people want Kenyans banned? I personally don't think want that at all because I'm like, Kenya is very different from Russia. Russia, it was state sanctioned. They were covering up tests. Here, they're popping people left and right. The athletes, they're dirt poor. There's so much upside for them to dope. Some of them are just like, this is an easy decision.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be a poor farmer or I'm gonna have a chance to make some money. I'm gonna do this. So, like, I don't blame the Kenyan people. I don't blame the Kenyan Federation. I think that they're they disproportionately put a ton of money towards this trying to catch people. But that's just me.
And it and I think, like, we're coming at it from an American society where our decisions are because of morals and values. They're like, "I don't care if I get busted after this. I just changed my entire village," right? I just changed, like, just rose the poverty level, was able to climb out of poverty by winning this one race, so I don't think that matters. Coach Vigil, for as long as I have known him, talked about the drug culture, like death penalty. So it wasn't actually killing someone for testing positive, but if you did test positive, or more recently your passport was had too much fluctuation in it, that it not only would have your records unratified or not ratifiable, but that your name was wiped out of the sport as if you never existed. And he always promoted that if you tested positive one time, that it was as if you never took part in this sport, even like from your youth. If you were in youth track or high school or collegiate, a collegiate athlete, that you would just be wiped out of the books, no recognition that you ever took part in it. Um, and I think I would love more to see how races and sponsors could get their money back. I know that's always been really hard to do, but I think that there needs to be a measure that protects them a little bit more when athletes are stealing money from the races, and making sure that they get their assets back.
I agree with all of that. I said on the regular podcast we recorded yesterday, all your past accomplishments should be gone.
Yeah.
And there isn't with drug testing, there really isn't the as a society, yes, I want innocent before guilt. With drug testing, they knock on your door. It's very invasive. You face the person, pee in front of them, like they're looking at your privates. I mean, it's like, so were you doping 2 years ago? I don't know. I don't really care, but this might be a deterrent. You're no longer known. Ruth Chepngetich is the 2019 world champion.
Yeah.
You're definitely not the world record holder from October. Like, that's crazy. They still haven't ratified that record, but everyone thinks they will. And I'm like, no, like, we just have some common sense.
Yeah. If you're cheating now, why weren't you just cheating a little less then? I think it was Lance Armstrong that was like, "Yeah, I was doing EPO, but I was doing a lot less than everyone else, so I'm still better than everybody." Like, "Oh, give me a break." Like, if maybe you were just, like, microdosing and you were a little smarter back then, but then you got cocky and you wanted to run faster, so you took a little more and then you got busted. Like, you just don't know, because if you're a cheater, you are also a liar.
Yeah. And then I think on the other side, I think the races, I feel like the races could do this legally. Some lawyers could chime in if this would be feasible, but just say, hey, we're not working with you again. We know you got 15% of whatever we paid the athlete. We want that back. And look, the agent may not have no idea what's going on, but now essentially they got illicit money. This money was from someone cheating, and they got a cut of it, so it should go back. If you get illicit gains, even though it wasn't your fault, sometimes you have to cough those up. Like, you had nothing to do with it, and here you may have something to do with it, but also then the agents would have every incentive to like make sure to go one step further, to not just say, "Well, I'm not part of the problem," but be like, "I'm part of the solution.
Yeah.
I'm gonna come up by unannounced, or I'm gonna test my athletes on their own, or I'm just gonna make it clear to them like." You up to something, we don't know what's going on, you're not welcome. And people still may test positive in that sense, but I think that would be one thing that could be done.
Yeah.
And the shoe companies could do the same. They know what they're paying, you know, but 'cause I don't want anyone profiting from this. Um, as you said, the races, I think, are sort of in a tough spot. What, they're supposed to, like, magically know who's dirty? We can all have our suspicions or something, but they want the best athletes, and, I think the drug testers are doing their job. The races should try to get the best athletes.
Right.
If you told Chicago friend someone's gonna run 209 a race, they'd probably say no.
I was talking to WGN, the a Chicago station, in the morning last week, in the morning, talking about how amazing Chicago is that they have both men's and women's world records. And then literally an hour later, the news of Ruth testing positive came out. And I'm like, well, don't I look like an idiot now? Like I was literally just bragging on air in Chicago. Like, hopefully they didn't like jump right to breaking news of Ruth Chepngetich's positive test right after I was talking about what an amazing performance that was. Um, Hopefully their editors were a little better than that, but it's I feel like when we look at something in awe, it's hard to know, like it's hard to know what's, like, just jaw-dropping in a beautiful way that the sport is advancing and what is jaw-dropping in a cynical way, and I think maybe it's human nature that we do that, like, back in the day, I walked, uphill against the wind to school both directions, there and back, and, is it just time? Because, we were running without super shoes, and so it's easy to just be in awe of these performances, but then when is it not super shoes and something greater than that? So I think it's hard emotionally to buy into some of the performances, especially because we weren't raised in the super shoe era, and I think we're just gonna keep seeing great performances, and I really want to accept them as great performances and not be cynical, but when so many people have tested positive, specifically from Kenya in the last 10 months, it's hard to buy into those performances and be excited about them as much as I want to. I feel like I do have this dueling emotion inside of me when I'm seeing some of the athletes perform at such an amazing level.
It's hard. It's sort of one of the problems with the sport, right? Like,
Yeah.
when is this too good to be true? Because you wanna be amazed. If I ever get to the point where there's not some doubt about what I'm seeing, I'm done. Like, have you heard of the enhanced games that may happen at these doping games? And they've got a lot of funding from these, like, Silicon Valley types, which is crazy. But I have 0 interest in seeing it,
No.
especially on the women's side, right? I can make a woman really good at running, essentially turn her into a man, as much as possible, but with tons of testosterone, right? Like, I mean,
That is nothing I would watch. To me, I feel like that's like watching athletes with a heart attack waiting to happen, right? I just like, how much is too much? Like, even if I see a dog, like a muscular dog, I'm like, oh no, are they on steroids? Like, have they built up? There was a dog on the beach today that I was like, oh my gosh, this dog has more muscle than Arnold Schwarzenegger in his heyday. And it made me like kind of sad. Like, is this dog naturally that thick and muscular? Um, and to watch a games like that, I worry about the health, like the actual health of athletes that could freely do that. I mean, even Ruth Chepngetich, like, how's her health gonna be? Is she gonna die at 40? Is she gonna die at the age of 40 because she was given all these synthetic materials to make her run more like a machine, for a couple of races? It just doesn't seem worth the risk.
yeah, I agree. And I'm sure some of these people would say, "Oh, well, you don't have to push it to the limit. You could take micros limits of this stuff." But once you open Pandora's box, okay, this is the healthy amount you could take to enhance your performance or whatever. That many athletes are still going to try to push beyond that,
Yeah.
right? Right? You could take steroids till your heart is so big and you die. Like at some point, there is no. I like how we're doing it right now. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, and I think that was my point with Ruth and not ratifying her record, because who's to say that she was in my mind, she was most likely microdosing then, and then in order to get faster, she's now taking a little bit more of whatever it is and got busted for it. So she was in a safe range that was undetectable and then went above that. Greed. It's greed. Isn't that what that's called?
Yep, I think it is. And maybe that's, tying this all back together. What sort of life do you wanna live, right? Like, I I don't wanna be a cheater. I don't wanna, I want the accomplishments to be natural. What I want to see also, I wanna see the best. I wanna be inspired. I don't wanna think, "Oh, this person took a drug that someone else wasn't willing to take, or wasn't allowed to take," or whatever it is.
Yeah, and if we are tying it together, I wasn't thinking of Coach Vigil and Ruth Chepngetich in the same week, because they were 2 totally different emotions in my mind while I'm on vacation, but maybe that news is what sent him out. Maybe that was just his tipping point, right? He was like, "Nope, nope, I'm out. I'm out. I can't handle another one of these. I'm out here."
Wow, I didn't that would be crazy. I mean, who knows what's gonna set us up when we're on our last moments, but
Yeah. What straw's gonna break your back? Well, then what's it gonna be?
and maybe that's the thing, right? Like, there's the good, the bad, the beautiful of life, and those things are always there, and I think Joe showed us to have more of the beautiful, more of the good.
Yeah.
I can't wait till I put on the opera music next time I'm cleaning the house.
Oh my
I mean,
gosh.
this is gonna be good.
You have
This
to
could be life-changing for me.
you have to text me your wife's response when you're listening to opera and cleaning. She's gonna be like, "He's having a midlife crisis for sure."
We got this, I'm very California now, Dean. I have a cargo bike for my kids, so we got a new speaker today for it. Kinda lights up, but I'm bring it in the house, I'm gonna start blasting the music off of that thing. She's not gonna know what hit her.
Keep her on her toes. That's what we have to do. You gotta keep her
She already thinks this running thing is weird, but I'm like, "No, this guy Joe Vigil, he's 95, he's inspiring the next generation," so,
and inspired you with his opera music.
yeah. Well, I wanna thank Joe for it's a life well lived. Thoughts to his families. Dina, thank you for all the time. I said 15 minutes, it's been an hour, so we really appreciate it.
Thank you, Weldon. Thanks for putting the good word out there, hopefully spreading more good and inspiring people even after he passed.
Okay, thanks. Enjoy the vacation.
Thanks, Weldon. Take care.
What? You're still listening? You know what that means? You're a special person. You're really into track and field, just like me and the team at Let's Run. Join our supporters club today, the Let'sRun.com supporters club, to get all of our content. You get a bonus podcast every week. Podcasts from USA's, podcasts from Worlds, podcasts from the Olympics, savings on running shoes, exclusive content. There's a private members only forum. You can ask us questions. Join for a year, you get a super soft t-shirt. And if you don't like it, we'll refund all your money. No one's taking us up on the offer. Go to letsrun.com/subscribe to join today. Link in the show notes.